Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Canadian Football Central, CFL content for the fans, by the fans. It's been a little bit. There's been one preseason game. We haven't dropped a video in a bit. I've been pretty busy, but it should be winding down a little bit. And we got a lot to cover. We're kind of doing a bit of a general update for this video, just kind of on everything that we haven't talked about, as there's been a lot that's gone on. We've gotten a new commissioner. There's been some stuff announced for some home openers. We're going to talk about this past preseason game, but then we'll have a separate video that will be a preview of this coming week's preseason game. So if you're looking for that, make sure you guys stay tuned for that. We'll look into the new rule changes, to kind of discuss some of the current injuries right now. And and then also for those wondering, make sure if you want to watch any of the preseason games, those are available on CFL Plus, which is free. So, Rick, how have you been?
Yes. My Lord, it felt like off. So I don't know what felt longer, from the Grey Cup in November to February when the free agents started, or from February to now.
I'm going to say from Grey Cup to February, because at least from February, we had some distractions, at least coming out of the hockey side of things with the Four Nations. It felt weird actually going from Four Nations back to just standard NHL hockey. And then I've been very, very focused on the NHL playoffs up until, of course, my Winnipeg Jets were recently eliminated by the Dallas Stars. And then a day later, I was reminded that, you know what, there is a way that you could get eliminated that's a little bit worse. Sorry, Toronto. And so, yeah. But now we're kind of in CFL's kind of kicking up, finally. We had kind of done a little bit of a video preview for the CFL Combine, and now we got this. And so, what do you want to start with, Rick, of everything, all the topics we have to go through? I don't really care where we're going.
Let's start with the commissioner.
Commissioner? Okay. So
the commissioner actually, what was he? Was he the president?
Like, what was his job beforehand?
No, I know it was with TSN. I'm just trying to think. President, vice president, maybe?
Like, you're trying to see what we're trying to remember what his specific job was? I can't remember.
Yeah, because I know so it was
Stuart Johnston, new commissioner of the CFL, taking over after the tenure of Randy Ambrosie, which was a bit of a difficult tenure. I think Ambrosie overall did a relatively solid job. He kind of dealt with a hard time for the CFL with having to deal with getting the CFL through COVID. Obviously, they lost a season to that, but they were able to get back. And obviously, he never really accomplished one of his main goals, which is trying to get that 10th franchise out in Halifax. But that definitely was put on the back burner when some other existing franchises kind of needed a little bit of a kick, whether that was the transition for the Elks ownership, Alouettes having a change of ownership, BC having a change of ownership, and BC kind of getting a resurgence of fans, trying to get fans resurgence.
And BC paying that $380,000 fine in the offseason.
Oh, I'm sure that helped the CFL's coffers. But hey, at the end of the day, the BC Lions still big increase in fan interaction since the
I do have a question.
Yeah.
So I found out today that Carter's not going to like this, but I am going to bring it up. Mm-hmm. So I found out today that the suspension of a certain someone was due to the previous GM and not this, the previous commissioner and not this commissioner.
You're talking Randy Ambrosie. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, because basically he didn't. This was we should talk about this. So Zach Caleros will be suspended. He gets suspended one regular season game for a drug test, but not for failing a drug test, but for failing to report to do a drug test. So the drug test never occurred. So although it's kind of weird because everyone's kind of like serious. Like you couldn't get although I will say everyone being like, wow, Zach Caleros didn't see a phone message. It's like, wow, Zach Caleros not like the fact that someone can't fathom someone not being glued to their phone is a little bit terrifying. Although I would like to know exactly what, like, did he have to do it in 24 hours? Like, I'd love to know a little bit more about that whole process.
apparently, I think it had to do within a couple of days.
Okay.
So he was saying he has over 85,000 emails that hasn't gone through. The
Did they talk to his
the
agent?
text message that he got, he thought it was a spam, so he didn't respond to the text message, and he didn't answer his phone. Keep in mind, it was going to be a 2 game, but they talked it down to a 1 game. On top of it, because you guys have a week 1 bye, he misses game week 2, so he technically doesn't play till game 3 or week 3 on a home stretch with BC. Yeah. So by the time he plays, there could already be teams in the league that are like 3-0, and you guys have to play catch up.
Yeah. No, there is that. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a big fan of having a bye week, week 1 as a Bomber fan, but it is what it is. The thing is here is that, like, on one hand, like, Zach Collaros, I would like to believe should be a little bit more careful in the future about this. On the other hand, it's a little bit kind of like, so the league texts him, and Zach Collaros thinks and wonders if it is a scam text or whatever, which is kind of understandable if he just gets a text from a random unknown number. Like, it's a little strange how the league didn't do this through the Bombers themselves or through his agent or anything like that. Again, now, to be fair, I'm saying this, I'm not aware how other leagues do their drug tests, so maybe this is completely standard and Zach Collaros just didn't do what he had to do. But I would also be curious, it's not like this would have been the first drug test Zach Collaros has ever taken. He's taken some in the past, absolutely. So I'm wondering, is this different than the way the CFL normally has conducted their drug tests? Because if so, then I kind of understand why Zach Collaros was kind of thrown off by this. So unfortunate for the Bombers. 1 game, though. It's not too bad. So should be fine. Just a little bit more disappointing than anything, as this kind of feels avoidable and just feels more like mismanagement and just a miscommunication than it was Zach Collaros actually doing any malicious wrongdoing. The fact that they even considered 2 games is a little absurd for it being like this. But I mean, it ended up being one game, so that, I can only really comment on that, as that's the actual punishment itself.
So people were trying to bring up the whole fact of, how is the commissioner going to bring up new blood into the league as far as fans go? So I don't know if you've seen it. Did you hear what they're doing in 2028?
No.
They're having flag football part of the Olympics.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And they're having NFL players
I have heard this.
And they're trying to get CFL players to go.
I mean, if they can get in, if the NFL players are not taking up all the spots.
No, but I'm just saying, like, you would have to split the league. Like, you'd have to have a bit of a 2-week break, kind of like the All-Star type thing, where you have like a 2-week break. But then how are you gonna fit that time?
Here's my thing: if you can actually get CFL players somehow into the Olympics, that's 100% worth it.
But it's flag football, though. You're trying to tell me.
Yeah, but it's also the Olympics. That's a huge stage. Like, regardless of it being
mind you,
if you have CFL talent standing next side to NFL talent in any regard, that should help the CFL.
I will say, though.
Plus, it's an experiment worth running. If it doesn't work out, you do it 1 year and you don't do it 4 years later.
I will say, though, there's more Canadian players in the CFL than there is the NFL, so CFL players would have a greater chance being a Canadian and making the team than if you're an American trying to make the American team.
Yeah, which is why I think if they actually are, I think that would be a great thing to consider. I think that would be a smart choice by the CFL. If you're trying to get new eyeballs, Olympics is a great place to do that.
Like, just think, Barrow from the Cincinnati, Josh Barrow against Nathan Rourke.
Get Brady Oliveira.
There you go.
There's
I just thought I'd just throw that out there.
Yeah, no, that'd be fun. But yeah, Stuart Johnson, he's got a bit of a task ahead of him. I think there's going to be a couple things on the requirement list of Stuart Johnston. Firstly, if he would ever be able to move the CFL towards even being able to open up the talks about it, because right now we can't even have a conversation about a 10th team because Halifax don't have owners, they don't have a building. They need to get at least one of those two somewhat in the next bit before they can think about anything. And again, I do think if they're ever going to consider it, partnering up with a college or university to kind of split the bill on a stadium, kind of like how Winnipeg has done, would be a smart choice. I think you'd want to look towards that. I think you'd want better stability on the Toronto market for a team that's winning Grey Cups and still not being able to get a single sellout. I think you want to be able to do that. And I'm not knocking the fans that are showing up. There are great Argo fans that show up all the time. They just kind of need to do that. I think the CFL... Here's my thing. Right now, we are looking at the CFL with more Canadian patriotism in Canada than...
Yes.
At least in the past 20 years. There have never been as much Canadian patriotism as there is right now in my lifetime. I'm 22 years old. And so if you're the CFL, Toronto is the market you want to hit, because if you're the Argos, you want to be like, no. You don't need to drive down to Buffalo and go see a Bills game to see some good football. We got good football on this side of the border, and you should come see a Toronto Argonauts game. That's how you got to market it, because it's not like there's not football fans in Toronto. There is. They're just driving to Buffalo to watch the Bills. And so you want to keep them in Canada. You want to get them to the Argos games. Family bundles, all this and that. Market the team. When I was in Toronto, the only Argos ad I saw was one at Maple Leaf Square. And it showed up for like 2 seconds and then went away to show like Avril concert and like Snoop Dogg.
It's funny that you mention like promoting and making things affordable. So
this is a Canadian league. Promote it as a Canadian league. This is when that idea works.
So for the Ticats on the non-player side up in the 200s, they've made it so it's more affordable for family.
Good.
And the concessions in the upper 200s non-player side, $2 to $6 for food.
Yeah, that's the way you got to do it. If you're the Toronto Argonauts, you should be offering for a family of four, $150 for 4 tickets, plus like a food and drink, all included for all 4 tickets, all 4 with a drink. And you could even do what the Jets have done, where they've done it where you can buy a Jets ticket. It's like $60 for a regular season Jets game. You get your ticket and you get a cup, and that cup you can refill as many times as you want throughout the game. And you get like a hot dog with it. That's what you got to do. And you could do like family packs. You could do single seat packs, all that sort of stuff.
The F was that when we came in October?
Did not exist. It was something that they brought in a little later.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
I was going to
say that.
They had brought it about halfway through the season. I think sometime in December.
Figures.
Yeah, but that's also one reason why the attendance in Winnipeg got a big boost up. Jets attendance has gotten a lot better. The attendance issues they were having, which also the fact that I was hearing about Winnipeg Jets attendance issues when Arizona was playing in a 5,000 fucking college building was just stupid. You're worrying about the Jets? Look at where the old Jets went. They're in the shitter right now. Like, jeez. But anyways, we'll keep this on CFL. So new challenges for our new CFL commissioner coming in. I do want to talk about, I think this is probably a good segue. This year, there were some rule changes, Rick.
Yes.
So let's go through that. So there were 6 changes, right?
Yes, sir.
So we're going to look at some of the 2025 ratified rules changes. Grade 2 roughing the passer penalty. The 25-yard grade 2 roughing the passer penalty has been modified to be called in additional circumstances when a blow is delivered with the crown of the helmet to the head or neck of the passer despite having a clear view to contact and there are no mitigating circumstances, i.e. if the level of the quarterback's helmet changes prior to contact. That's one instance. Another instance, a blow is delivered to the knee or below of the passer despite having a clear view to contact, and there are no mitigating circumstances, i.e. if contact with another player's alters what would otherwise be legal contact. I'm going to call that the Garrett Marino rule. Or a blow is egregiously late. Which, again, these seem fair. There are now two other instances that will now be automatic ejections, which will be all low block penalties on kicking plays. Open or closed hand punches to the head area. So that is now an automatic ejection.
And I wonder if this is the Chris Edwards scenario where he went to go handshake with someone and punched him in the face.
Well, there have been a few instances this year of a couple punches being thrown and guys getting an unnecessary roughness. That is now an automatic ejection, and I think that's fine. I think that's very reasonable.
I'm just gonna skip over the next three because there's actually one that I really like.
Okay.
So they have removed of restriction major penalties. So now anything inside the 25-yard line, instead of going half the distance to the goal, you're now at the 1-yard line.
Yep.
So you know how many more touchdowns there's going to be scored on short yardage due to that? So if you have pass interference, roughing the passer, what else do they have here? It says all major penalties, misconducts, rough play, disqualifications will be removed.
Yeah. So you got to be really smart defensively then. So you can't get away with extra crap.
So the low hits on vulnerable receivers, basically, if you're going to go and jump in the air and catch a ball and they hit you, if I understood this correctly, below the knees, that doesn't count. It's if you go to catch the ball and you're on the ground and they hit you below the knees, then that counts.
A 15-yard penalty and automatic first down will be called when a blow is delivered at or below the knees of a receiver catching a pass in a vulnerable position. The only time the low hit protection is removed, though, if the player jumps. If the receiver jumps, the knees or lower rule no longer applies and they are not protected by it because they have raised their knees up by jumping. You know what I mean? So just an important thing to mention. Ineligible receivers. Once an eligible receiver touches a pass, all players on both teams become eligible to catch the pass. That seems reasonable. So if you have an instance where an eligible receiver goes to catch it, and let's just say
touches his hand.
It touches his hands, but he doesn't quite get it, and then the ball's kind of bouncing around, doesn't hit the ground, and someone who's not eligible catches the ball. You'll sometimes see this on a short pass where basically a lineman is able to essentially grab it, where it's not a fumble recovery. It's like it's a rare instance, but it has happened a few times. So it makes sense that this would be the case. I like this change. Offside pass. Offside pass is defined as a ball being directed in any manner other than being kicked towards the opponent's deadline. The team making the offside pass is not permitted to advance the ball or retain possession beyond the originating point of the pass. The following plays will no longer be considered offside passes. If a defending player prevents the ball from going out of bounds, knocks it down, or bats it into the playing area in an offside direction, batting a loose ball in any direction, following a fumble, a blocked kick, a wild snap, lateral pass, or kicked ball. There's only one rule change I will say there's one rule change they didn't make that I really still believe needs to be made. And this is the one rule where I actually prefer the NFL's rule on it than the CFL's, which I notoriously have a lot of problems with the NFL rule book.
I want to see if you're going the same way I'm thinking.
If you fumble the ball and it goes out of bounds, in the NFL, the last team to have possession gets the ball. So if you fumble the ball and it bounces off the other team and goes out of bounds, unless the other team had possession, they don't get a turnover. In the CFL, it is the last team who touches the ball, not possession, gets it, which I think is stupid, because if you fumble the ball in the CFL, you kind of have the incentive to then swat it out of bounds, because then you're the last person to touch it, and now you have possession.
I was actually going. I thought you were going to go with the anti-scrabble kick.
Maybe I'm kind of torn on that, because it's kind of also
now that he's out in BC, I think, or Calgary.
I don't know. Then again, it's also weird because other teams haven't used it. So, again, if it's only abused by one player, I don't really care, in the sense of, like, if every team started doing that every single game, then yeah, it's getting a little out of hand. But
True.
We're not at that point, so no. But do you understand my argument for my...
No, I get with what you're saying.
Because I don't think you should be rewarded for killing the play. This is exactly why I never liked the fair catch rule in the United States. Because you're essentially being rewarded with 25 yards for killing the play.
Just be thankful that we don't have that stupid kick rule that they have.
Oh, God, our kickoff is better than every other league, seriously. Canadian football kickoff is better than the stupid UFL, NFL kickoff rules. I remember the UFL was like, look, at the NFL has adopted our rule. I'm like, great, now we got two dumb leagues. I'm not saying dumb leagues in the sense of the leagues are dumb. I'm saying that rule's dumb, and it's in both leagues. But anyways, I want to talk a little bit briefly about some home opener stuff for teams. I'm going to start with the Winnipeg home opener. Bombers are having the Trues, who apparently did something at the Grey Cup a couple of years ago. I'm assuming they weren't the main act, but...
They played the halftime show in 2023. They're a Canadian rock band.
Yes, I don't really know the Trues well. So were they the main show for the halftime show, or were they kind of one of the smaller?
Give me 1 second.
Because I don't think they were the main. Were they really the main act?
It was. It shows Green Day.
Yeah, that was Green Day. Did they sometimes have a band play before the game? Did they maybe do that?
I mean, it's quite possible.
Yeah, they might have done something like that. But anyways, so they're doing that at halftime for the Bombers. So that is a thing that's happening. But,
you know what it was?
What?
You know what it was?
What?
It was, I just found it here. It was the 2023 East Final.
Ooh, exciting.
Is when they played.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know much about them. I hope they're decent. I'm just more curious about who we're getting for our Grey Cup halftime.
I will say
in November.
The other big name. So listen to this. So the BC Lions got.
Oh, we're talking
Snoop
about
Dogg.
BC now. Okay.
Soon as they announced Snoop Dogg, within I want to say 48 hours, they sold 40,000 tickets for Snoop Dogg.
Of course they did, because it's Snoop Dogg. Like, seriously, it's D-O-double-G, man. You're gonna sell out. Like, that's the way it is.
Let's just hope that your guys' Grey Cup is not the Jonas Brothers.
Yeah. Well, we know it won't be them because they did it last year, so it has to be someone else. So there's hope there. But BC getting Snoop is huge. Often, obviously last year they got 50, and so that was great with 50 Cent. Snoop now arguably even a bigger name than 50 Cent. So BC Lions keeping, like, this is how you attract new fans. This is how you sell the building out. Man, I'd love to see Toronto do something like this. I think it would really help.
Here's the question though: is I get the whole get butts in the seats type thing. How many of those, whatever the amount of tickets that they sold, will leave after the concert?
Less than 1,000. If you look at last year, if you look at the 50 Cent performance, less out of a 60,000 seat stadium, less than 1,000 people left after the performance. And that's an absolute win. That's huge. If you can get 50 plus thousand for a Lions game, then like, and here's my thing. If you're the Lions, let's say you don't make let's say you break even that game with the amount of money you have to pay Snoop Dogg and the amount of costs of everything. Let's say you make nothing, which is not even going to be true. The Lions are going to make money that day. Trust me, they will. Even if they break even, you're going to have some retention. Obviously, you're not going to keep 60,000 for every Lions game. But if you're even able to keep 25, 30, you're great. Like, you're in a good spot. And so that's what the Lions are banking on. They've done it prior years. And, you know, it's one of those things where arguably they might not even need to do it. They'll still do really well because they've really invigorated that fan base back to kind of where they've wanted it. But they're going to keep doing it because it's been a recipe for success. And the Lions fandom just keeps growing and growing and growing in Vancouver, which is just a massive market. It's a team that should be doing well, that is doing well, and is continuing to do well. So them getting Snoop is absolutely huge. One of the big questions is this going to play on TV? Probably not, I imagine. It is a Snoop Dogg concert we're talking about here, so the likelihood that TSN is going to be pleased. If they didn't like 50 Cent's language, they're not going to like Snoop's either, because if you think Snoop is going to do a family-friendly version of his concert, I'm going to go with a hard no on that one. My guess is TSN is not going to air it, even though everyone would like them to.
I don't know if you know.
Yeah.
Matt Dunnigan is not back with TSN this year. He is moving on.
Yeah, I know. I heard about that. That made me sad. I was hoping it would be Glenn Suter, but no.
Oh. My only hopes, if only. Also, since I was just looking at the referee that was reffing the Grey Cup, you know what we don't get anymore?
What?
We don't get the... Oh, it hit the scoreboard again because Flintoff is no longer in BC.
Oh, yes. Flintloft is going to go try to find another market that has a hanging score clock.
And the one
he has to go play in, like, Frankfurt.
Yeah. The one last thing that I wanted to mention,
yep,
just quickly, were injuries.
Oh, yeah.
Because 8 out of 9 teams have at least 1 or 2 players on the 1 game, if not 6 game.
Oh.
And do you know what team has no one?
Who?
These guys right here. Hamilton Ticats have no one. I thought Kenny Lawler was going to be added on the list the other day, but it was a minor bang-up injury.
Oh, yeah.
So the whole update with Chad Kelly, when Chad Kelly broke his leg in the Grey Cup. I don't know if you remember that.
Well, he broke his leg in the Eastern Final, not in the Grey Cup.
Yeah, sorry. He has 50-50 chance start. If he's not ready to start game 1 against Montreal, he will go on the injured reserve list.
Okay.
Saskatchewan, they have lost Philip Gagne, who came over from Montreal on the 1 game. And Sean McHugh, the other offensive lineman, he is now on... Apparently he's out for a while, according to the Rough Riders coach. Noah Curtis for the Elks is out for 1 game, and Oliver Muembi is out for 6 games. Nick Mardner for the Red Blacks is on the 6th game, as well as Nigel Romick.
Yep.
Carter, you're not going to like this next one. Josh Haggerty for the Blue Bombers is on the 1 game, so he technically doesn't get to play till week 3. Enoch Maconzo, who played for us last year, that was placed on the 6th game. Now he's on the 6th game for you guys. So you guys just signed him. Josh Archibald is on the 1 game for Montreal so far. And Adam Auclair and Josh Woods are on the 1 game for BC. And Catlon St. Clair is on the 1 game for Calgary.
I'm not gonna lie, for what I'm used to hearing of bomber injury reports, it could get worse. It could be a lot worse. I'm quite
surprised that there's not more on the reserve or on the injured reserve list.
Oh yeah. So shall we get into just a little recap of the Stampeders Lions game from last week,
Sure.
as we have not talked about that yet. So Calgary Stampeders go into the Lions barn, and they win by a score of 26 to 16.
Keep in mind, Langford is not their barn.
Although, yeah, they were. Where are they playing this game?
So this was in Langford, BC, which is an island, Vancouver Island.
Oh, I see.
Because they're having their camp in Kamloops.
That makes sense. Well, then again, they are the BC Lions, not the Vancouver Lions, so it makes sense. So yeah, that's just outside Victoria. Nice. They but yeah, so if we're kind of looking into the quarterback stats, both teams kind of passed it around a little bit with kind of the mainstay on Calgary being Philip Walker. He went 8 for 16, so exactly 50%. 77 passing yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, average of 4.8 yards, so not exactly a great look. And then
Carter.
The BC Lions mostly played legend and noted legend Chase Bryce. He went 14 for 20, so almost 75%, 135 passing yards, 1 touchdown with an average of 6.8.
So
he is him.
The reason why Carter brings that up is because when we were in Saskatchewan last year, Nathan Rourke was injured.
It was BC versus Saskatchewan at Mosaic Stadium.
Vernon Adams crapped the bed.
Yeah, the Riders were basically running over the Lions in this game, and so
Chase Bryce came in.
They played. Was it Vernon? No, they were playing. No, they didn't. Vernon Adams didn't crap the bed. They were playing Nathan Rourke, and they didn't even play Vernon Adams because everyone thought that Vernon Adams was going to start the second half. And then they didn't. And then in the fourth quarter, I look over and I'm like, oh, God, they're playing Chase Bryce. Vernon Adams, you are now a Calgary Stampeder because you're not getting any field time for these Lions. And so Chase Bryce then went on a run and finally got the Lions on the board. And so everyone was making jokes like Chase Bryce better than Nathan Rourke, ? But yeah, Nathan Rourke he had 1 pass in this game. He went 1 for 7 yards. And then Jeremiah Mazzoli even played a little bit for the Lions. He went 3 for 5. He actually got himself a touchdown. And then back on the Stamp side of things, Logan Bonner got a little bit. Josh Love got a little bit, although Logan Bonner did throw an interception. If we're looking for the Stampeders, we'll just go through the Stampeders stats here. Stamps got nothing in the first quarter, got 10 in the second and the third, got 6 in the fourth to get their 26 points. Rushing, they really kind of were all over the place with Ludovic Choquette leading the charge with 47 rushing yards, 1 touchdown. There was another rushing touchdown for Tion Evans, who had 44 yards and 1 touchdown, but he did it on 11 carries instead of Choquette's 6 carries. So good showing for Choquette there with an average of 7.8 yards per carry. Receiving, they were kind of all over the place. Ishmael Hyman got a bit of time. Terrell Vaughn, Joseph Nagata, and Ludwig Choquette also got some receiving yards here. Cam Eccles. And so kind of all over the place there. No passing touchdowns for Calgary, just rushing touchdowns. As well as field goals for them. Defensively, Wilcots gets himself a sack. Fumble recovery for Muldorfer, I believe. Max von Muldorfer, I believe is how you say that name. Sack for Alex Nobles. And then Rene Paredes goes 2 for 2 with his longest being a 52-yarder. So Rene Paredes, consistent as per always. Always being one of the top kickers in the CFL, still is. If we're looking for BC rushing yards here, Xander Horvath with 34 rushing yards on 7 carries, 4.9 on average, with his longest being a 12-yard carry for him, followed by Terrell and Huntley. Receiving, Jermaine Jackson led it with 54 receiving yards on 4 targets, 4 receptions, got 1 touchdown. with an average of 13.5. And then kind of a few others that they had there in their mix with, is that Ezekiel Tiede? I don't know how to say it. David Durden, Jared Gibson, and Ryson John, followed by a bunch of others. And then defensively, Marcus Moore with 1 sack, 5 defensive tackles for Devin Richardson. And then besides that, not a whole lot else. There was an interception for Tyler Coyle as well. I was about to say as well as someone else, but no one else. But then for BC, Mark McName was able to go 1 for 1 on field goals with a 32-yard field goal. So that's kind of your summary of that game. And for the Lions, they went up 6-0 in the first quarter, put up a big fat donut in the second, got 7 points in the third quarter. In the fourth quarter, was able to grab a field goal, but it just wasn't enough. And so that would be a final score of 26-16 for the Calgary Stampeders.
The 2 minor points that I'm going to bring out is Adams goes down, Calgary's screwed.
Yeah.
Even though it was Walker's Jr.'s first game.
It's funny, if I was Calgary, you know what I'd do?
Go get Shea Patterson, because he got cut.
Either Shea Patterson or Dolegala, he got cut from the Bombers. Either one of them would be much better than their current backup quarterback situation.
And the other thing that kind of drives me up the wall is Damien Alford, the first overall draft pick in the draft. You throw once to him for 4 yards. Really? You're really showing him that he's really worth that first overall pick with 1 pass.
To be fair, it is his first season, and sometimes with high draft pick players, it takes him a couple years. Like, for example, Liam Dobson is, he's now kind of a mainstay starting offensive lineman in the CFL. It took him a couple years to get there, and he was only 5th, and he was 5th overall from Texas State.
But
so
also
it didn't come immediately. But I also understand that he's.
I could use your argument and say, look at Wilson and Claircius for you guys first year, and look how well they did.
To be fair, they got their opportunities because of injuries, though. I would argue if Schoen and Lawler get healthy, stay healthy, I don't think they get those same opportunities. Because you have to remember, Schoen and Lawler went down. And Nick Dembski was not himself at the start of that season. So the Bombers basically had no deep ball threat. None. At least at the time. So the Bombers were kind of like, shit, well, we got to give someone else a chance. We got to see if we can get something here. And obviously they were able to get it, especially with Ontario Wilson. But that came more because the Bombers had a specific need rather than it was just them being very kind and generous. As much as I would love to be able to say that, we have to look at the situation where the Bombers were dealing with a lot of injuries and they kind of needed something. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
Is there anything else we got here, Rick? Or have we basically covered it all?
We basically have covered it all.
Yeah, so if you have tuned in, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe if you have not already. And stay tuned as... Well, probably in the next day or two, me and Rick will do our preview of week 2 of the CFL preseason, which will be a lot. There'll be a lot more to talk about as we now are back to 4 games.
It's probably best to do that one Friday night because we'll have all the depth charts for all the games on Saturday.
We'll see. We'll see what we end up doing. It'll depend.
Or in other words, whenever Carter messages me to record, we record.
Well, it's also one of those things where I may not want to necessarily have the video, want to wait until Saturday to have the video up if the games are that day. You know what I mean? I may want to do it a little earlier. So we'll see. But we'll figure it out. We'll get that video up. And so make sure you guys stay tuned for that. More CFL content coming regularly now that we're in preseason, and then obviously regular season starting over on June 5th. So we'll make sure that we're active on all that. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Peace, love, and positivity, and we'll see you guys next time.